Hi everyone, it's Jakey again, back for part 2 of the Final Fantasy XI Empyrean Armor Plus 3 guide. This time with some DPS jobs. They were chosen fairly arbitrarily. I know there's other jobs that can DPS, I'm not saying they aren't. I just needed to split them into 3 roughly equal quantities. So these are the jobs I've chosen. If these don't include the jobs you're interested in, you may want to subscribe and hit the bell to make sure you don't miss part 3, where I will cover all of the remaining jobs. Also, timestamps in the description if you want to just jump to a specific job. So first we have Dragoon, and I found the +2 set here to be rather disappointing. Like, good stats, but the stats are on the wrong pieces, so it ends up just not being very useful. For instance, there's no DT on the body, which is your nice stored TP piece. And Dragoon already has a good PDL body, so it just doesn't do much for you there. The legs, you were never going to TP in, but they put DT on those. Would have much rather had the PDL on the legs. Yeah, I mean, Dragoon's in a pretty good spot, so maybe this was an effort to weaken Dragoon by just messing up this set, but it's kind of frustrating. So here's the +3. The head, solid weapon skill damage piece. That was kind of expected once we knew the weapon skill damage would go to 12. The body, 10 PDL, just not really gonna do much on the body slot. And again, there's no DT, so it's hard to use the store TP there either, because you're losing a lot of defense. This whole set doesn't have very good magic evasion. I mean, it's a little better than it was, but it's still not great magic evasion. The hands, that's a good amount of double attack. And of course you would use it for Spirit Link. And I do like you have DT with the double attack. But I'll get into my issues with that in a minute. Legs, a little bit more crit damage, a little bit more damage for the jumps. Now it kind of depends how you're using your jumps, what weapon skill you're trying to charge up, whether you are aiming for 2 or 3 KTP, or whether you're just using them for damage. If you're just using them for damage, these are great pants. If you're trying to get TP though, not so much. The feet still only helps with Spirit Jump, but that's a lot of TP for Spirit Jump, at least. Okay, so I think Gladys is the important comparison to make here with the body, because the Gledy body, you've got just 1 less PDL, but 9 double attack, versus no double attack. No weapon skill damage, nothing else. So, yeah, this has a little bit more strength, but I think for pretty much any weapon skill, I'm probably preferring this, just because that's so much extra double attack. Also, the critical hit rate is pretty important, since we have Shining One, Drake's Bane, a few other ways of having weapon skills crit, so having the crit rate helps as well. Oh, I suppose I should mention the Wyvern food effect. I did test, because I was wondering if I could double up using like Daifuku to give the pet a food bonus and then my food bonus using this body. It doesn't work like that. If the food gives any kind of bonus to the pet, this body will not take effect. So this only works for foods that don't give your pet any bonus naturally, and then it gives your pet whatever bonus you have. So to summarize, we've got a pretty decent weapon skill damage head, a body that, I mean, 14 store TP is enough that you can use this as a TP body. The problem is you just aren't getting any DT, which makes it dangerous. The hands, oh, I didn't talk about the hands yet. So normally I would say, yeah, 7 double attack, 11 DT. That seems better than the Gledy hands, because that's 7 store TP. And less DT, but the problem is the Gledy hands also gives your pet DT, which is really useful to help make sure your Wyvern isn't really taking any damage. So That's pretty important. And these are close enough that yeah, I'm still gonna stick with the Gledy hands just to keep my Wyvern much more survivable. And then you've got legs that, I mean, yeah, they'll sneak into some of your crit weapon skills, but keep in mind critical hit damage only really useful if you've got a decently high critical hit rate. And as I've shifted like my impulse drive more and more towards the Niame, its critical hit rate is not as high as it used to be. So that makes these a little bit more dubious. They'll still be used for like Drakesbane and stuff. And depending what build you're going for, you may also use this for Spirit and Soul Jump. Should note Spirit and Soul Jump, if you have your Wyvern out, are auto crit as well. So I mean, this does add a lot of damage to those. But a lot of the time, especially if I'm doing like an impulse drive strat, I'm focused much more on TP gain rather than just the raw damage from the jumps. So you use it as you need. And the feed, of course, you use them for Spirit Jump. It's a nice bonus for Spirit Jump, but that's all it is. So, not the greatest set, but there's at least some use here, I guess. Okay, here's Dark Knight. The +2 set, all 5 pieces I use, they're each boosting specific abilities except for the head, which is a nice PDL piece for basically everything but Torque Lever because its vitality is low. Otherwise, body for Dread Spikes, legs for Nether Void, etc. Also, all the pieces have pretty solid magic accuracy. They're not necessarily all best in slot at the moment, but we may be getting there with the +3. So here's the +3. First of all, yeah, their magic accuracy is pretty much best in slot across the board, unless you getting a specific bonus for the magic on a specific other piece. But I mean, 60 plus is about as good as you're ever going to get. So great magic accuracy pieces, and that's certainly useful on Dark. In addition, the head, now PDL 10, and another double attack, and higher stat line. With those stat lines, you're going to end up using that for most weapon skills if you need a PDL piece. Body, they increase the dead spikes by a whole nother 10% to 55%. That I'm surprised by that. That's a pretty nice bonus there. Again, I really like that the body comes with DT. I said this about the +2 in my +2 review, but having DT on this body, since you're usually casting Dread Spikes and all the plus damage taking gear because you want the max HP you can have, this really helps balance that out a bit. So I'm really glad they put DT on that piece. Hands, use them for casting Absorb TP, and probably just for magic accuracy in general now. Legs, Nether Void bonus, that's actually a pretty big bonus. You've also got the Dark Magic skill on there, and high magic accuracy, so yeah, solid piece for those kinds of uses. And the feat. Okay, so the feat is another really important piece here. In addition to the Occult Acumen, which is, allows for some fun tricks, you've got weapon skill damage 12 on the feat now, with a higher stat line than Niame. I think you very clearly use this as the weapon skill damage piece for most weapon skills on Dark. And special note, it has MAB +50, so I know, we don't use a lot of elemental weapon skills on Dark, but this is especially strong for those. So I think to really talk about the head here, we got to compare it to the Sakpata Helm. Double attack damage +13, and of course more DT and magic evasion on the Sakpata Helm, which means for TP purposes, I think Sakpata's Helm is still generally better. However, double attack damage does not apply to weapon skills. So for weapon skills, I think the Empyrean is much more useful. You're doubling the PDL from it as well, and increasing double attack by 1, higher strength, higher basically everything but vitality. And that's where it's still a little questionable for Torque Lever. I'll have to actually plug it in and check. But I wouldn't be shocked that if you're using the full PDL, it could still easily come out ahead even for Torque Lever. Since it's now not nearly as far behind in vitality as the +2 was, and you're gaining a lot more PDL than the +2 did. Yeah, I think you're going to see this used And for any other weapon skill besides Torque Cleaver, this is definitely like your go-to PDL piece. Of course, again, with PDL pieces, you have to have enough attack to support them or they don't do much. So you gotta weigh that in there. I think that's the only piece we need to compare here. So yeah, Dark did pretty well. You got two pieces that are probably going to go into most of your weapon skills, and they're all high magic accuracy pieces for the spells you cast, and they all give and then the rest of them all give bonuses to specific spells and abilities that you do use. So yeah, solid set. Next we have Monk. Uh, there's basically three pieces at the +2 level that were good. The body, just for the impetus bonus, like it's always been, but finally we got some good accuracy and attack on it. Weapon skill damage, largely irrelevant for hand-to-hand weapon skills. Legs, huge amount of kick attack with the store TP and the DT. Very nice. Only issue is this set has pretty low magic evasion, so it does cost you a bit there, so you don't necessarily always use these legs, but when you can use them, you want to use them. And then the hands. Monk doesn't get access to a ton of PDL, so this is pretty nice. Also, the hand-to-hand skill is especially good because hand-to-hand skill, unlike most other skills, actually boosts your damage in addition to your accuracy and attack. So these hands definitely got into several weapon skills, and we'll probably get into a lot more at the +3. So here's the +3. The body, we've got increased weapon skill damage, doesn't really matter, but more accuracy and attack. You still have the impetus bonus, which is what you use the body for. Some concern here, we do have an increase in martial arts. Always have to be careful about that because that has potential to lower your base TP gain. Now, the weapons I looked at, the only one that runs into an issue here is God Hands. It lowers its TP gain by 1. However, God Hands also is not capped in terms of attack speed for martial arts, so it's not a complete loss there. I don't think that's enough reason not to upgrade these. Of course, Impetus works best with the Empyrean hand-to-hands anyway, so I think it's fine. Moving on. Legs, like really another 5 kick attack, along with an additional store TP and more DT. These legs are incredible. The magic evasion is even starting to get into a reasonable level. It's still on the low end, but 119 isn't, a complete loss. I should note here, because some people get a little, have some difficulty in terms of comparing kick attacks to other attacks. Reminder, double attacks and triple attacks and stuff can all proc on both fists, so you can have them proc twice per attack round. Kick attacks can only proc once per attack round, so this isn't the same as adding like 30 double attack. It's significantly less than that. So, but it can stack with your double attacks, so it's a little different. Also, kick attacks can do a lot more damage than a normal attack, so it helps out your weight damage a lot. So it's a little hard to compare, but 30 is a lot, and that's still quite good. The hands, now 10 PDL. Definitely, if you're looking for PDL, you're going to be using these for most weapon skills. Also, with the increased accuracy and attack and the increased hand-to-hand skill, so this gives a ton of accuracy and attack, so that helps support the PDL to actually make it be useful as well. I expect these to be used for basically every weapon skill as long as you need a PDL piece. It depends if you have enough attack for it. But yeah, I mean, pretty much every weapon skill. The only one that's really in any debate here, I think, is still Victory Smite, just because you've got nice critical hit rate and damage hands that you're competing with. But I expect these are actually probably pretty close to those two, so we'll have to be running the numbers. That leaves the head and the feet. Feet still don't have enough footwork to be the best, so nope. Head, I mean, if you're desperate for a DT piece, sure, but I don't think I'm going to bother upgrading those. So there's Monk. You got 3 really good pieces and 2 kind of non-existent pieces. Okay, next we have Ranger. There was a few questions on how the MP plus 2 works, so I'm going to go through that first before we get to plus 3, so then we have a better understanding how the plus 3 will work. The hands, Bounty Shot plus 3. That just gives you TH5 consistently when you Bounty Shot, which is kind of a big deal, because other than Thief, now Ranger is the only other job that can go above TH4 consistently. So that's awesome. There is one exception to that, and that's if you're in Esha zone, so you're getting the extra TH and you're wearing TH4 gear, it'll usually say no effect. And then if you keep going, it'll eventually level up to TH6. And what's going on there is the TH5 from your other TH gear and the Esha buff is taking a TH5 right away, and then the Bounty Shot is trying to proc above that to TH6. And you only have a relatively small chance at an increase, so most of the time it'll just say no effect, but you're still getting TH5. So that's what's going on there. And everywhere else, you're just getting TH5 consistently, which is cool. If the MP plus 3 goes to Bounty Shot plus 4, expect that to be a TH6 consistently, which is pretty good. Other thing I want to point out here, the body, Velocity Shot plus 9%. That does not just improve your pre-shot set. Velocity Shot plus 9% also means when you have the Velocity Shot buff up, you're getting 9% extra ranged attack, which is huge, especially on a PDL piece. So that makes this a lot more useful than I thought at first glance. So that's pretty good. Also, there's questions about how the minus enmity works on the head. I'm not going to do minus enmity testing because it's a giant pain. But also, like, you're competing with the Relic head and the SU3 head, depending what you're doing. You'd be giving up a ton of damage to use this. So no, I'm not concerned about it. Anyways, let's check out the plus 3. Okay, here we go. So the head, they just increase the double shot minus enmity. Sure, whatever. I'm not concerned about it because again, the Relic and SU3 heads are just so much better for any kind of mid shot set. The body, Velocity Shot plus 11% now, so now that makes your pre-shot shoot faster, but also that's a lot of ranged attack potentially, and you've got 10 PDL now, so there's definitely some uses there. We're going to be comparing that with the Ikenga in a minute. The gloves now Bounty Shot 4, so indeed we are going to have TH6, so that's really awesome. Legs, now an additional 2 true shot, additional store TP, additional crit rate, and additional DT, and of course the normal ranged accuracy and attack. Amazing mid shot piece. Also, this is more store TP than Malignance. Do have to be careful here. Its haste, however, is less than Malignance. So if you're trying to use this for a melee set as well, you need to make sure you have extra haste somewhere else, or you won't be capping your haste. So you have to be a little careful there, but certainly as a mid-shot piece, absolutely amazing. They really do seem to be trying to push the true shot a bit, which is interesting. I guess that's one way of trying to help out archery a bit. And I mean, there are some sets where it would make sense to melee in this. So yeah, it's definitely a very useful piece. Okay, and now the feet. Okay, especially for marksman, like physical weapon skills, this is amazing. You've got 38 skill to go with the 60 ranged accuracy and range attack, and the 12 weapon skill damage, and very good stat line as well. Minus enmity, nice to throw in there. Yeah, I mean, this is a really nice weapon skill piece. The one thing I would point out is if you're trying to do like a Savage Blade build, there's no melee attack on here, so you may still prefer Nyame in that case. But I think for most other situations, especially for marksmanship, this is definitely going to be your go-to. But even for archery, I mean, to the extent we use archery, 60 ranged accuracy and attack is plenty, and the 12 weapon skill damage, yeah, I mean, this is going to be pretty good. So, yeah. So you basically got 4 very useful pieces here. So, yeah, Ranger did quite well. Finally, to compare the body to the Ikenga, so this has 3 more PDL, potentially way more ranged attack, but the Ikenga body has the TP bonus. So certainly for weapon skills that don't care about the TP bonus, I think the Empyrean's going to be definitely preferred. You've got more strength, more agility. Like, yeah, this is a better piece if you don't need the TP bonus. It gets a lot more interesting though for the majority of your weapon skills that do care about the TP bonus. But then it's like, well, one's giving you more attack and more stats, one's giving you a TP bonus, but it's not that far behind on the other stats. I'm gonna have to run some numbers there. Of course, I hate to give up the TP bonus because I love TP bonuses. So this is quite good. Of course, also sometimes I'm doing like a mixed melee and then like ranged attacks, and then I'm not using velocity shot, and then I don't get the velocity shot bonus, and then I think it starts looking a lot better. So it depends what I'm doing here. They're both really good pieces. It's a little sad that they're having to compete directly against each other, but I guess that's the only way to make it balanced. Okay, Samurai. Honestly, this was one of the best looking sets at +2. Whoever designed this set knew what they were doing. They put DT on all the store TP pieces, and they put weapon skill damage and PDL on the pieces that were clearly intended for weapon skills. So I look forward to seeing what the +3 is. So here's the +3. Just increased the store TP and DT on all these pieces, as well as the Zanshin on the body. Accuracy and attacks increased across the board. You've got Great Katana still on the body. Amazing TP pieces here. The Flama head's probably still better in terms of like pure DPS than the head here, but I mean, you're getting 10 DT here, so there's certainly a place for this head. Now let's look at these hands. 12 weapon skill damage now with the Sekinoki bonus as well. I was already using these hands at the +2 just for the Sekinoki bonus, and now having 12 weapon skill damage, you probably just use these from most of your weapon skills. You don't even have to worry about specifically putting them on when you're trying to do Sekinoki. So that's awesome. The feet, 10 PDL. Sam doesn't have access to that much good PDL right now, so I think you'll probably end up seeing these used a lot for weapon skills on Sam. Just to get some PDL in there. And conserve TP and say, I mean, these are stats that are useful to have on a weapon skill piece. So, yeah, I mean, just across the board, solid pieces. Nothing here is like massively better than what you had before, but you're just pulling away from your other options, and they're all doing exactly what they're trying to do. So it's a great set. Okay, Thief set. It was pointed out to me I did not talk enough about the +2 head here. It's part of one of the best sort of glass cannon builds on any job, really. Thief is often looked down on as a DPS these days, but if you go full glass cannon on Thief, it is easily one of the best DPS around. The problem is the slightest breeze and you are very dead. So and this head makes that glass cannon set even better. So let's check out the +3. So here's the +3, and the head just got a whole lot better. You got additional triple attack, 3 more PDL, more accuracy and attack. It's really good, but again, there's no defense on it. So the other thing to keep in mind with this set, the set bonus is really, really good. It gives you a chance at all 3 hits of a triple attack doing triple damage. Yeah, that's a lot of extra damage. Problem here is, what are you gonna, other than the head, what do you want to put in your TP set? And ideally, it's something with some DT to help balance things out. And the other big question is, what is the exact proc rate on that? Like, there's a big difference between if 2 pieces gives you a 1% proc rate or a 2% proc rate. Makes all the difference here. So, and that's going to be an annoying thing to confirm one way or the other. But I know there's some people who really care about Thief out there who might sit down and figure that one out. But at least not today for me. But let's look at the rest of the pieces here. The body, you do get the nice conspirator bonus. That can actually be quite good for TP. Problem is there's no DT on the piece either. And conspirator is better in alliances. We don't really do a lot of alliance content anymore. So and I know there's been some issues with it. I think it's fixed now, but I haven't checked, so should definitely check before I get too excited about the conspirator bonus. Also, weapon skill damage +12 on the body. Might go, oh, but it's on the body, so it's competing with the Niame body. That's also weapon skill damage +12. Don't worry, it was already beating at +8 just because the stat line is so much better. And the stat line is even better here. So, great weapon skill body here. With some potential for maybe some TPing. Although, again, it doesn't fix your DT issues. So then that leaves the rest of these. The hands, it's not enough sneak attack bonus to be worth using for weapon skills. So, I mean, are you trying to do... Well, if I'm trying to do a naked sneak attack without weapon skilling, I'm usually stacking TH and trying for TH procs. I'm not worrying about doing more damage with it. So yeah, I don't see these hands as very good. The legs, I mean, you can do some stuff with the despoil bonus, but that's relatively minor. You do get some critical hit rates, so, and 13 DT. I could maybe see trying to squeeze these in to make the glass cannon set not so glass cannon, but it's going to depend on the activation rate on that set bonus, really, I think. The feet, use them for TH. They basically cap out your TH in one piece, so that's awesome. Then, of course, there's the debate about whether it's sometimes worth stacking additional TH or not. I don't know. I'm not going to worry about it. It's just nice to get a bunch of TH in one spot like this and have DT attached to it so you can throw it on and not be worried about it making you squishy. So that's cool. And again, it boosts the despoil. I forget what exactly each of them did for despoil, but one of them like makes the effect stronger, one of them makes it happen more often. So yeah. Okay, warrior. It was an okay set at the +2. The big thing that people were scratching their heads at here, I think, was the fencer +3 on the legs, since any reasonable fencer build is already running at least +2 fencer from the blurred shield +1 and the +2 neck. So, and Fencer caps at +3 in terms of gear for Warrior. So, didn't make a lot of sense to put +3 Fencer on here. But it certainly has some potential. It's got PDL and double attack. Increase that a bunch. It can be decent. A lot of these are then used for various job abilities, and we'll have to compare it to probably the Sakpata set to get a better idea on some of these pieces. So let's check it out. Okay, Square Enix, what are you doing? Why does it say Fencer +4? Fencer caps at 3. So either they've like ninja changed Fencer, or someone over there doesn't know how Fencer works, because yeah, it's capped at +3. You don't need +4 for anything. Anyways, it's still a good piece. I mean, 10 PDL, 8 double attack, and we'll compare it to Sakpata in a minute. It's pretty good. Other than that, I mean, you've got a nice chunk of double attack with DT on the head, DT with store TP on the body, as well as, of course, Blood Rage duration, weapon skill damage hands. I mean, yeah, they're probably going to beat out Nyame for most weapon skills that care about weapon skill damage. So, yeah, that's pretty good. I'm not going to get into how the strength works, but yeah. And then we have the feet. Yeah, I mean, you can do like retaliation shenanigans with these, and it's nice to have DT so you don't die while you do them, because retaliation, it doesn't block the damage, it just lets you get TP from it and do damage back. So not dying while doing that's probably a good thing. So let's see how it looks compared to the Sakpata set. So I think the main things we want to look at here is the legs. So 7 PDL versus 10. 7 double attack versus 8. 48 strength versus 53. 21 mind versus 27. 40 versus 34 vitality. Yeah, I mean, in terms of damage, these are just straight up better than Sakpatas. Of course, the Sakpatas gives you way more magic evasion and the DT, so if you're TPing, you may still prefer Sakpatas. But in terms of something to weapon skill in, these are looking pretty good. Now, you do lose the skill chain damage, but I'm a bit less concerned about that, especially if you're running a few pieces of Nyame anyways. You'll have plenty of skill chain damage. So yeah, I think this ends up being a very good weapon skill damage piece. You can basically just, or a very good PDL piece for weapon skills. You can basically just ignore the Fencer nonsense on it. And hey, you're all set if they ever add some Fencer minus gear. Other pieces to consider here. The head. 7 double attack versus 5 double attack. And 7 DT versus 11. So, I mean, this is not an unreasonable headpiece to use. You do lose out on the double attack damage if you've got the Sakpatas augmented, which many don't. So, I mean, this could be a better option for you, depending. Obviously, the magic evasion is just not at all at the same level as Sakpatas, so keep that in mind. But it's not a terrible option. The body, of course, it's going store TP route instead of double attack. It's nice to have a mix. More DT, less magic evasion. And it's a nice chunk of store TP. So, yeah, I mean, I could certainly see builds that might TP in this body. Again, magic evasion issues compared to Sakpata, but I mean, most sets do have magic evasion issues when you're trying to compare it to Sakpata. But it's not an unreasonable option to consider. Yeah, so I mean, all around great set. You've got nice PDL legs that future proofs any fencer needs you might have. Yeah, that's how we'll put it. It's future proofing. The hands, great weapon skill damage piece. Um, feet if you want to do retaliation shenanigans. Uh, head and body are decent TP options that give you a lot of DT, but the magic evasion's a little lacking. But are perfectly reasonable in terms of both offensive and defensive. Nice kind of hybrid stats. So yeah, I mean it's a decent set for Warrior, but not too much groundbreaking here. Unless they find a use for more Fencer. I don't know. So that's it for part 2 of my series on the Empyrean +3 armor. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'm also putting all these into a single playlist, so you can check that out. Make sure you didn't miss any of them, and I guess I will see you next time.